Hello, Patrick here from Have Cheetah Will View, 8 Questions With. And we are live. Um, all right. So I got a little bit of a cat nap, thanks to the cheetah, after our interview with Joe O'Connell earlier this afternoon, the director of Rondo and Bob, uh, which was an excellent interview. And it's up already. So if you haven't seen the replay, please do so. Um, Tonight we will be talking with the cast and creators of a new radio drama, well, it's sort of weird. It's like, oh, greetings. How are you? I hope you stick around for this one, Retro. This is one I'm really happy about. This is going to be a lot of fun. Hi, Katie. We are talking to the cast and creators of a new radio drama podcast called uh, St. Mary's School for the Children of the Stigmata. And it is created and written by Samantha Macher and Laura Hunter Drago. And they will be here in about 15 minutes or so. And they will be bringing their castmates along. So we will be meeting, not only will we see Laura and Samantha again, but we'll also be meeting Bianca, Nkwonta, Ginger T-Rex, Lexington Vanderberg, and Emma A. Gould. So we'll be meeting a lot of people here. Hi, Crystal. How are you? Yes, this is pretty exciting. I've never interviewed any radio cast before like this. So this is another first for me. Um, so there's going to be the cast and creators are going to be here, all 6 of them. So this is actually pretty exciting because if this really works out and I manage to do this without embarrassing myself too bad, we're going to do it again, hopefully next month with another radio cast. And that one I'm looking forward to. I be well. Let's not count our popcorn before it's popped, Katie. We'll have to make sure I do this right. Uh, yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. And these are all women, all women. These are the same creative forces behind To the New Girl, and which I have reviewed and interviewed Samantha and Laura Hunter Drago before on the show. Laura and Samantha have been here before, so this will be their second time around. I gotta tell you, I mean, like this is gonna be this is big for me. I never have handled 6 guests at once, so glad you guys are here. Glad you guys are here. This is going to be a lot of fun. I really hope so. And yeah, I'm nervous. That's probably why I'm chattering so much. Uh, 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 so we interviewed Jill O'Connell earlier this afternoon. That was another fun interview too. If you're into horror films or films in general, documentaries, you want to listen to that interview as well. That was a lot of fun. Is it a slumber? Is it slumber sleepy night tonight, Crystal? I call it a slumber sleepy. I think you guys are going to be on after us. So I better try to read this calendar. Every time I try to do this, I always wreck. So let me get this real quick because June is coming around. Let's see. We have the calendar. All right. Let's see. So tonight is our show with the cast and crew of St. Mary's. All right. All right. Slumber Sleepy at 10:30. I'll definitely be dropping by for that. Definitely will. Let's see. So next Tuesday, the 31st of May, we are welcoming in Ken from Multi-Level Media. So we're going to be talking a lot of movies next Tuesday. Keith's got one of the most popular channels in the community, But we're gonna go underneath the, what's new, what's happening, where to hunt. We're gonna get to know Keith the person. So that will be at 8 p.m. on next Tuesday. Plus, we'll probably talk some A24, some ISC, some Arrow, Severin, all that good jazz. But he's a really nice guy, very supportive, and we'll be talking to him next Tuesday at 8 p.m. And then Wednesday, I don't know what this is, but I have two shows again. I have two. I didn't take over anybody's slot this time. So on June 1st at 2 p.m., we are heading across the pond to interview Harry DeWall from the YouTube channel Pick Surprise. Harry is a really cool young man, very sharp, very interesting man to talk to. Hi, Corinne. I'm glad you're here. Where will you be talking to the cast of St. Mary's School for the Children of the Stigmata? I just like saying stigmata. Does anybody know what a stigmata is? Have you ever heard of a stigmata? I'll let everybody say. I'll let you guys think about that for a minute. You ever heard of the stigmatas? It's where well, they say that people will bleed from wounds of Christ. So they'll bleed from the hands. They can bleed from the hands. Right. Yep. That's right. So they can bleed from the hands. They can bleed from the feet, and they bleed from the spear that stabbed Christ in the side. Yeah, it's pretty eerie actually. They made a movie about it a few years ago, a horror movie called Stigmata. It was pretty good. Oh, let's see, and then next Wednesday night on the 1st, we have Kevin from Haunted by Horror. Haunted by Horror. Yes, that's right, Katie. Yep. Retro's right, man. You guys, you know what? I don't know why I asked. You guys already know this. Yes, I saw that too. That's a great movie. Patricia Arquette and Gabriel Byrne. He's so good. I have not seen that movie out in the wild. I saw it at the theater when it came out, and I've always wanted to keep an eye out and pick up a copy. Never seen it out in the wild. Crazy. So we'll be talking to Kevin from Haunted by Horror. His channel's really on fire. He probably is the singular most interesting person to me as far as skills go, as far as reviewing films. He's probably the best I've seen on YouTube so far. Really good reviewer, super strong, and really enjoy his channel a lot. And gonna probably have to drop a link or two down here sooner than later. I did drop the links down in the chat for Joe and for my pop up a couple of days ago. So if you want to get his link, um, we'll drop it down in the chat in a little bit. Same as with Harry's Pick Surprise. Pick Surprise. Harry's channel he'll be the largest YouTuber I have interviewed yet. His channel has over 240,000 people. So yeah, he's got 240,000 subs. So of course, I'll be happy if like 5 show up, right? Let's see. And then next Thursday on the 2nd, we are welcoming in actress and director Molly Sousa will be here, and she is making her first movie. She's directing her first movie called Late Checkout, and it's a small world because one of the stars of Late Checkout is a young lady who we interviewed before, Bailey Harrington, who starred in the Sawyer Massacre. So she'll be here talking about her film on Thursday, June 2nd. June 5th, we have a special show Sunday. We'll be talking to young actor Kyle Rappaport. He's a really fun young man. He works in a lot of the Mark Polonia movies on Wild Eye, and he's a very determined and hardworking actor. And lo, our first guest is here. Let's go get her. I don't know who it's going to be. Now I know. It's Ginger.
Hi.
All right. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. I better do this while I still can. Let me do the layout so we can. I think this is the one. Of course, I'm gonna find this out as I go.
That's how I do it.
Yeah, it's like okay, because we're gonna have 6 of you in here.
Oh.
Yes.
I have to warn you, I might have to bail out early because I'm at a thing at a state, but I'll stay as long as I can.
Sure, that's fine.
All right.
Normally we start the show at 8, but I always go up a little early just to let people know who you guys are.
Okay.
And so we have been talking about St. Mary's, and this is my first time I've actually interviewed a radio cast.
What do you normally do? Who do you normally interview?
I do everybody. I do actors, direct. I've already interviewed Laura and Samantha before.
Okay.
I've known them for over a year now. Since the New Girl came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome movie.
Are you in California?
No, I'm in Michigan.
Okay, cool.
Here's the second one. Okay.
Hello. Hi, Ginger. I'm so glad you could make it. I was worried about your internet. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, it seems to be working so far. I told Patrick I might have to go a little early, but I'll stay as long as I can.
Good. Thank you so much. Hi, how are you, Patrick?
Hi, Laura. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having us again. I feel like we're becoming a regular.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to tell, I don't know if Ginger knows. So Patrick was the first person to review the feature film that we made called
He told me, yeah.
Okay, good.
Cool. How did you guys come into contact then?
He just got sent a copy of the film.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Nice.
I thought it was extremely powerful, and I just loved the way it was laid out and the way it was directed, and I have a little crush on Samantha Carl, as anybody else will too. I loved her character the most, and it was a great movie. Now it's on Tubi.
Yes. Yeah.
Tubi.
Our chat is here. They're saying hello to you and to Ginger and Laura. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, hello. Okay, I see it now. It's on the side. Okay.
Here we go again. Ta-da!
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. Hi, Emma.
Hello.
Hey. Yay. I think Sam is jumping on now as well. So
okay.
Awesome.
And then I'm not sure about Bianca, and then Lexington, I believe, is working, but is going to try to jump in when she can. So
okay.
Yeah, I saw Bianca's Instagram stories, and it looks like she's on a boat. So
yeah.
Cool.
Hey, everybody.
Wow. All right. Starting to look like the Brady Bunch in here.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice to see all of you.
It's so funny. So we've never really met.
Well, have you guys never met face to face?
No.
Never. Not even over Zoom. No.
Wow. You haven't met on Zoom either? This is the first. Wow, that's that's even more. Wow, I have to have even more respect because that's incredible. I was wondering if you guys acted that. That's one of the questions I was going to ask you was when you were doing your parts, did you have the other members of the cast in front of you, so you could feel like you were talking to them while you were performing.
No, not at all. In fact, where Emma and Ginger, can you say where you're both located?
I live in New Mexico, so I'm in the Southwest.
And I'm currently living in Croatia.
Ah.
Holy pro!
So we're very international. I'm in LA, and then Sam is in Virginia.
Yeah.
Virginia.
Oh,
Wow, that is really
Every
cool.
time zone possible seems to be represented.
Ginger, you're in Croatia, right? So
No.
Emma.
are you 6? Emma, are you 6 hours ahead of us?
It is currently 2:00 in the morning.
Ooh.
Wow, yeah, you're 6 hours.
I'm living in the future. I'm living in the future. It's already the 28th of May here. So.
Oh, is it nice? I wanted to know if it's going to be nice in like 8 hours. Is the weather nice?
Oh, it's beautiful at the moment. Yeah.
What's the winning lot? What's the winning lotto numbers here?
Yeah, I wish I knew.
We'll talk for a couple more minutes. We'll give a chance for Samantha to come up, and then yeah.
I think this is all of us for now, probably. So if you want to go ahead and get started, I think we're good.
Okay. All right. So obviously, the burning question I have before we start talking a little bit is, did any of you were any of you guys radio fans when you were growing up? Did you listen to any old time radio shows growing up?
No.
I was gonna say, I think, yeah, not like particularly like radio shows, but a lot of I lived by the radio. I had it on all the time, like NPR and different things like that. So different types of storytelling. And then I was a very early adopter of podcasts. Like as soon as there was such a thing, I was like, "This is amazing." That's all I want.
This is what's funny is what's really funny is like I went ahead and I put this out on my Instagram, right? Like I'm doing this interview, it's the first time I'm doing an interview with a radio drama podcast. And it's like it's like holy crow, and then right after that, all of a sudden I got pinged by another one. They said, they started following me and they said hello and everything else, and I'm going like, are you a radio drama too? And he goes, yes, we're ours is about World War II.
Oh,
And all of a sudden it's like before I've never had any. Next thing you know, it's like I started talking about St. Mary's, and next thing you know, I'm getting another one. And it was just like, okay, so I know podcasts talk about a lot of things. I knew that true crime or ghost stories or what have you. But honestly, I did not know that anybody was doing what you're doing. I didn't think anybody was doing a radio type drama.
I don't know that there's I know there's a lot of like ghost story type podcast because I listen to a bazillion of them, but like the way that Laura produces it with all the sound effects and the way that our actors have so wonderfully lent their voices to the characters, I'm not sure that there's a ton of people doing that yet, but I'm starting to see it more and more now, which is cool.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. See, I'm a little older than all you guys, so I actually grew up on radio. I grew up listening to a show called the CBS Mystery Theater with an actor named E.G. Marshall, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I'm gonna have to adjust my camera here so I can see all you guys. Hopefully it's now. Did you guys, when you guys all grew up, did any of you at all listen to any old time programs? Did your parents or your grandparents, did they ever talk about old time radio?
You see, I'm from the UK, so old time radio over here is pretty popular. We've had a show running since I think the 1960s called The Archers. It's still on the radio today, and so that's something that is pretty much ingrained in British culture. So yeah, very much so. It's a big part of most people's childhoods, I would say.
Wow.
Now see, that's really neat. That's I mean, that's all gone here. We have old radio programs that get played another, like there's one channel on YouTube that's very popular and they do old time radio shows as well. But they're from the 40s and 50s or the 30s even. So for you guys to be able to come up here and do this now, it's a really a cool throwback. I guess I should start. I'll start asking. I'll go around and I'll ask everybody here to tell us a little about about your start in the business. Some of the folks in the chat are new here, so I know Laura and Samantha, we've talked before, but we'll just go real briefly for the new folks here. And I'll go with you, Ginger. I'll let you go first.
Okay. I have been acting my entire adult life. I started right at 19 and did a little commercial in New Mexico's a big film and television state. I didn't used to be that way, but it's exploded and we have lots and lots of opportunities and work that comes there. So it's been fun to grow up in the business in New Mexico and see a lot of my friends now heading a lot of things where we were just kind of newbies back in the day. But I have done a lot of different things. I have a degree in broadcast journalism and worked as a reporter for a while. I worked for Maine Public Broadcasting in Portland, Maine, or in Lewiston, Auburn, Maine for a little bit. And have just always kept my profession. Like, I think I've never not been an actor. I think everywhere moved a little bit, but I've always had an agent and worked as an actor and have done some voiceover work, but this was very unique. I think it's a unique opportunity. And it was something unlike what I had ever done. I'd narrated books and I've done voiceovers for commercials and things like that. But this was playing a character in something with just my voice. And I hadn't done that before. And I felt such freedom to not have your face and to have just like be that. And I'm the evil like villain in this, my voice is just, I'm going for it. And I found that there was a lot of actual growth in my own like auditions and my work through this experience. So I'm very grateful to be able to be part of this and learn to be the villain and in a way that I just allow myself to go for it. So it was fun.
Villains are they seem to have a lot of fun, don't they?
Yeah, surprisingly, yeah.
Surprisingly so. Laura?
Yeah. So I started out as an actor, went to NYU for college for acting and kind of like did the audition circuit for a long time and then got a little tired of it, moved into producing. Sam and I actually went to high school together. So we had done theater growing up as kids together and both sort of kind of reconnected as adults. And she was writing and I was looking for something to produce. So we produced a feature film called To the New Girl together, started a production company. And then in the pandemic, we're kind of at a loss for what to do in terms of filming and thought, about doing this as a podcast. And here we are.
Yeah, that bi-coastal. I mean, I think I wonder if you and Samantha had actually been able to like go on the West Coast or on the East Coast, one or the other, would you have done this initially? Try to do this initially as a film, or are you glad that you decided to do it as a radio drama first?
Well, Sam had initially written it as a short film, which actually I played Florence in at a reading like 12 years ago, a really long time ago. So it was initially conceived as a film. But I think now, I mean, I'll let Sam answer for herself too, but I think we both are really happy with the podcast experience, especially having been through such a long film editing process and stuff with our last one. This has been so cool to just like in real time get to see it come together and kind of I edit it as well. So it's like pretty quick for us to churn out episodes and it's been very rewarding in that way that we're able to like just sort of do it all on our own and not have to wait on anybody. But I will let Sam also speak to that, please.
Oh yeah. So just a brief overview of my background. So I went to high school with Laura, a Catholic high school. Basically all the locations in the podcast, how I started each episode. So the actors know that each episode has like a name like Catherine House or the infirmary or whatever. Those are based on like real places in my brain and like the map of the school, which has been kind of fun. But after we went to high school, I went on and did playwriting and got my master's at Hollins University in playwriting. Moved out to LA for a while and did stuff like with Laura, like write screenplays and do that sort of thing. And then I had the opportunity to come home back to the East Coast to make a documentary. And I've kind of been home ever since because I like the East Coast. I'm an East Coast person generally. And so now that we're working, it's funny that Laura said it's really fun. It's like very gratifying to have the podcast because I feel like it's a really quick turnaround on the story. And also it's so much, it's actually quite a bit more like playwriting in that regard because you go from script to reading to hearing it to hear, because I always get the unproduced audio track first for revisions, and then Laura adds in the layers, so it's almost like being in rehearsal with a play. And then so I feel a little bit more like this is back to my roots in a lot of ways, and it's and I really enjoy it. It's a fun way to tell a story that I would not have necessarily thought of right off the bat, but I'm super excited it's working as well as it is.
Me too. I mean, I was really overjoyed when I saw it, and then I listened to the first episode. I was like, oh wow, this is so neat, because it's so, when I was a kid, a lot of people I mean, when they hear this for the first time, I think they're going to be really blown away because it's something I don't think a lot of people haven't ever heard before. And the thing that it is, though, is, which is weird because it's sort of surprising that it doesn't happen more because, you do an audiobook, right? An audiobook is tailor-made for this. It's tailor-made, but they never do that. They just give you one person to read the book. And it's like, well, why don't you ever act it out? You know how exciting that would be if you actually did something like that? So for you guys to be able to do this is, it is exciting.
Yeah, I think it's just the time and stuff. There's some audiobooks, like I want to say Daisy Jones and the Six used different voices for their characters, but so maybe now that the podcast stuff is happening, things will sort of like shift a little bit. But yeah, I do think it's cool. Emma, I want to hear your backstory.
Okay. So yeah, hi everybody. I am Emma, and I'm the token Harry Potter character of St. Mary's School, which is really fun because yeah, I mean, playing Katrina is so much fun because I can properly channel all of my really English Britishness into the character, which is just delicious to do. But a little about me. So I'm a British actress currently living in Croatia, as I said before. But I've been acting now professionally for the last 6 years or so. I actually started after leaving the UK, I went to Sweden, and I lived in Sweden for 5 years or so. And in the second half of that period of time, I decided to kickstart my professional career as an actor. So I literally started in Scandinavia, so Sweden and Denmark. Then I moved to Croatia, and I've been getting a lot of commercial work over here as well. But yeah, it's just been a whirlwind because I can pretty much go anywhere in Europe. That's kind of what I class as my work base, Europe. So yeah, it's really fun. I mainly do film. I write, and I also produce my own short films as well, which is really fun to see how everything behind the camera works. So yeah, you'll often find me either in front of the camera or in the editing room swearing over a computer, which I'm sure Laura knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then, yeah, I just do a lot of voiceover stuff, but St. Mary's is definitely my favorite project at the moment. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet to say.
It's my favorite. So Ginger, had you also done voiceover work as well?
Yes, yeah, I've voiced over. There's a series. An author in Santa Fe hired me to voice over the. She's got, I think, 8-book series, and I've done the first 2. And then an author wrote a book in the UK, a children's book that I voiced, and I'm voices of like kangaroos and panda. It's fun, like a lot of animals and children, and to get to do all of those is really fun. And otherwise, a lot of commercials, radio commercials, things like that. Yeah, but this is it's so well written, and it's so exciting and fun to be a part of it. And it's so unique that it really is. It's very exciting to see like a story that I haven't heard told in this way for sure. So that's been the fun thing when we get the new script. I'm like, oh, I want to, you want to see what happens next. And it's just been fun to have them. You can tell they're working behind the scenes to put out these great scripts and great dialogue for us to try to make our own. And I'll try to send, 2 or 3 takes of a line, and they just get, more vile as I go on. Like I'll give it kind of straight and then a little less straight and then a little like, let's take this far and see if that's the one they pick. And that's just been fun for me as an actor to have the freedom, to work with them and the ability to develop this character and to be a partner with them in that. It's been cool.
Now, how did you guys all, let's go to Laura and Samantha. So how did the idea generate? I mean, was it just simply for the fact because you guys were, separated from, because of the pandemic or whatnot? I mean, is this something you had thought about, initially as a play or a film, and then you just did it out of necessity? Or was this something that you thought about, doing from the get-go?
So Sam wrote it as a short film, but I think we knew we had a new sort of thing launching for To the New Girl this winter, and we wanted to kind of like have more projects going on, and it just felt like a little overwhelming to think about filming something with all the COVID restrictions and stuff right now, and we were just kind of racking our brains for what to do. And then I had weirdly been thinking about just podcasts or reading about them. And then I think Sam also, like, I think we kind of said at the same time, like, oh, what about that old script you had about like our high school and could we make that a creepy podcast? And I think I said something like, because the original script was, written for the screen, and I'll let Sam talk about sort of like the difference between doing it from the screen to a podcast. But I was sort of saying to her, I was like, what if it could be like a horror Gossip Girl, like where there's like monologues, and that way there would be like a narrator sort of aspect to it. But yeah, we pretty much, I think we were talking about this in September of last year for the first time, and then we had put the first episode out within like a month. So it was a pretty quick turnaround. And then in terms of getting the actors, I'll just tell the story really quick of like these two, especially because I remember their auditions. We had a ton of people submit for.
We did. It was like 50, 60 people for each character.
Maybe more. I mean, it was a lot.
Yeah,
and we listened.
We listened to all the notes.
Yeah, I think 50 or 60 is who we actually had read. I think we had like 2,000 submissions or something crazy. It was like, because it's voiceover, and I guess people are like, oh, I can do it at home. But it was amazing. We had so many great people. It was actually really hard to pick, but I very distinctly remember. So for Sister Mary Colette, we had people, everybody who read was great, but everybody went like so creepy that it was almost like too much. And I remember with Ginger, Sam and I both were like, oh, she's different. It's like, she's like on the edge. She's creepy, but she also has this sort of like warm kind of quality, nice quality to her voice. So it was kind of a different take. And then with Emma submitted.
Oh, that amazing audition. Yeah.
Emma literally has an audition tape. I should find it. She did
everything as like B-roll, like as a I don't know, Patreon.
She did every single character in her audition, and like with all different accents and voices.
Freaking cool.
And I don't even remember who you read for initially, if it was Inez or if it was Katrina or whatever.
I read for Inez and Katrina and Marjory.
Yeah. And we were like, she has to be one of the girls. And we just were like trying to figure out who, like where to fit you. And I think like it worked out so perfectly. But it was just so funny that we were like, as soon as I heard yours, I sent it to Sam and I was like, this girl, we're putting her in it. Because you must have spent so much time on the audition tape, because it was
nothing had not committed. So
it was the coolest thing. I was like,
it was awesome. I love that. As someone who like also acted, like that always makes me happy when I feel like somebody spent like a ton of time. So I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that was just like kind of a matter of figuring out which role, but it wasn't a matter of casting for both. I was like, oh, this is, you guys are easy. Actually, they were all the people that we wound up picking. Boy, it was like
Yeah,
really
the
good.
voice is really spot on.
Yeah.
It has such a distinctive personality to it. I gotta be honest with you. What really tickled me more than anything else about the cast was that Laura was in it. I was like, because you mentioned during last time and then this time too. How the acting, you had to put it aside, and you had you started producing and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I sensed it more of frustration more than it was because you didn't want to do it anymore. So I always felt like you still have that in you. You still wanted to do that a little bit. So I was really, really happy to see you, act again. And I was like, oh, that is really sweet. And I really enjoyed hearing Florence. I really enjoyed your work, and I thought I was glad you did it. Um,
too.
now,
I'm glad as well.
Huh?
I'm glad as well. It's been really fun. It's a nice little like easy sort of return to it for me. And because I had read for the character years ago, it kind of made sense to do it. And partially really the reason I like cast myself was like I didn't know how much time commitment we could get from other actors, and I was like, oh, I'll just do everything. So it was more like a
Laura trait.
but I've been really loving it. Like it's been really fun. So
now, did you do this like a play, Samantha? Did you write it as a play in your head in case that one actress couldn't make it? You would have like an understudy, so to speak, willing to come in. I mean, are there like 4 backup actresses just in case one's unavailable?
No, there are no backups. Just the folks we've got. But it did write it kind of. The podcast reads a lot more like a play script than the screenplay does. Screenplays are really technical documents. I always think of them like from a writer's perspective because there's a lot of like camera movement and cuts and things like that, and interior versus exterior shots and stuff. But a play or a podcast is a little bit more flexible, I guess, in that regard, because what you're telling the director, in this case Laura, is sort of what sounds and audio color that you kind of need in the project. But I also, as just a matter of habit, I sometimes will write in like my own sort of commentary into the stage directions. That would come up from time to time. I think every once in a while I'm like, I'm not like I know for Emma's character, I'm like, I'm not British. Feel free,
whatever.
Feel free to make this more British. I don't know.
I absolutely love those little stage directions when I get them. It's like, Emma, if this is
I'm like, Emma, if this is accurate, please go for it. But it's like really in terms of that, like it's actually kind of the only part of I'm not a director. Really, I have directed, but I'm not really a director. So I like to let actors kind of take the work and run with it as much as they can because I trust my collaborators. So I try not to weigh in too much unless there's something I don't know. I think is kind of how I roll with it.
Our friend Kevin has a question. I'll read it to you. He says he wonders what's the most unexpected aspect of doing a radio show was compared to doing any form of visual media. I would think the distance apart right now. I mean, now I know a lot of one of the questions I was one of the questions I was gonna ask is do you have a voice director at all, or are you just doing it purely by fly by wires?
It's pretty much, I mean, the way I've worked with the cast, like I said, we've never Zoomed before. Like we've only communicated over email until today. So like not even on the phone. And I think it's just, we knew when we picked them that like their voices fit and that they all knew what they were doing, and everybody took really quick, I'm not sure Sam and I knew how much we were going to use everybody in the beginning, like if it was going to be more quick flashbacks, but it turned into this more like ensemble cast because everyone was so good.
Yeah, I started writing more because everyone was so good. I was like, everyone needs something meaty.
Yeah. And it's so nice to like split it up a little bit and stuff. And But in terms of like direction, I usually like every now and then I'll give a few little notes like, oh, maybe try this or this or this. But for the most part, it's just I tell them to give me 2 or 3 takes. And then the hardest part of like my editing job is picking which take, because they're all really good. And it's just a matter of like, what the right tone is for the moment, or maybe what the other actor did. You're kind of piecing together a conversation where the two people weren't together. So that's the part that usually takes me the longest to kind of put together, but I've never had a problem making it work. So everybody's been awesome.
I wonder for that question that Haunted by Horror asked, I'm interested to see kind of how the actors will respond to that. So like, what's different about acting for a radio show in a horror context versus if you've ever done like a horror film? Like what's the biggest difference, do you think?
I mean, the main thing I would say for me is it's been a really unique opportunity because I have done horror films before. So, and for me, that's always been in the breathing, the facial expressions, and everything like that. It's all the very visual aspect, the wide eyes, it's all of those things that say this person is scared or this person is evil. Whereas with this podcast, it's been very much how much can you convey with just your tone of voice. And that's the thing. If you take away everything else, everything that you normally could look at someone and say, oh, they're scared, if you take that away and listen to their voice, do you get the same feeling? And I think by listening to everyone's recordings that we've all put together in this podcast, I think we managed it. So yeah, that's been the most unexpected thing, just how freeing it was to just be able to really play with your voice and how much emotion you can elicit from literally just a sound.
I'm really impressed in the fact that you guys all you trusted. The trust has got to be like the most important thing, because for you to be casted and not even see each other or talk to each other, visually. I mean, everything is just strictly by what you yourself are thinking about your character. You're totally creating a character all by yourself. You're like in a small bubble, and you're trusting that everybody else that is with you is doing the same thing. That's got to be incredibly. It's got to be. To trust somebody. I'm really because that's generally not how it works, right? You do scenes together, you act against each other, and visually speaking, you want to see the person you're talking to, even if it is in your head, but at least now you have an idea what that person looks like. But to do it strictly by mind by yourself, that's a tremendous skill.
Well, I'd like to answer that. I will say that their emails were so specific in you were very clear on what they were doing and the storyline. And so but then they did this beautiful thing where it was paired with your own creative freedom. And so I kind of felt like there was a good balance between like, I can get a great sense of what they want and what they're doing. And then they're saying, and we trust you to bring your highest level of work. And so it seemed like every episode they were able to do that. Like they would, give us the freedom to do what we wanted to do while we knew what the parameters were and what they had, that they were doing. And it was interesting to me to hear that this was based off of your school. And I'm wondering, was there a teacher? There was a nun maybe with the name Mary that I hope I'm doing her justice. Is that?
We actually had lovely nuns.
Okay.
The two that we had were great. Sister Joella and Sister Laura, and then Sister Cecilia, of course. They were actually really, really kind, wonderful.
Good.
Yeah, nuns. We didn't have any of the do you
remember Brother Luke though? He was kind of he would pop in and out and break rulers over our desk.
Oh.
I literally do not.
I was there for a minute.
I did not. That.
He was a very unnerving man. But nuns were
Brother Luke.
So no, and actually, it's sort of funny. I go back and forth on Sister Mary Colette being secretly on the side of the girls. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think of her as 100% evil, but I do think of her as 100% dedicated to whatever cause that she's involved with, which I think you do so well. like kind of towing that line. Like there's an episode where you have like a conversation, or Sister Mary Colette has like a conversation with Florence about like why she can't be with the person she wants to be with. And it's like comes from like a protective place. And I think you did that really, really well. So I think that kind of warmth from those women that we had kind of in our lives comes through in some of those moments. And then anything that's like terrifying is, I don't know who's.
I think my goal was like to be mothering in a way. And I think I always said, okay, your heart, you think, like everyone evil, you think you're doing the right thing for them. So
yeah,
you think you're loving them and so I just kept trying to bring that, even though, there was this other sinister element that was kind of fun to do, but it just seemed like, yeah, my role is to bring them along to whatever we're doing here.
Well, it's funny too, because Ginger also very briefly plays Florence's mom in episode 2. So she's basically all of the adult women characters in this.
Sure. That's a common thing too. A lot of times, a lot of the radio shows, they would use a really tight cast. They would have maybe like 7 or 8 actors, and every episode you would always hear them playing a different role. But you got that, it's always the same people, which it helps. It helps because after a while you get used to the voices and you feel comfortable with them because they're it's like watching a favorite movie or favorite actor or whatnot. You feel comfortable watching them because their work. Samantha, now why? I mean, was Catholic school that tough for you and Laura? I mean, did you guys?
I can't speak for Laura. I always joke that like I really liked Catholic school. I was like a big fan of. I'm still like kind of a rules muppet versus like a chaos muppet. I'm like a very like, oh, okay. This is how we're doing things. Great. I completely understand. But at the time, I think for me, I was like, oh, there's no locks on the lockers here. We can kind of meander around the hallway. I don't really have to be in class like if I'm feeling emotional or something. It was like kind of a very understanding sort of atmosphere, at least to a large part, at least in my class. So I liked it a lot, but the school also had a reputation for being haunted, which I loved, and like different creepy elements like that. And so I grew up like absolutely loving ghost stories. So I will make one up for almost any space that I'm in just to like weird myself out. But that school was pretty spooky.
Yeah, I mean, I
think things like overnight lock-ins and stuff like that we would do, and it would get like weird flickery lights, and like everyone would be like all crazed up with like sugar, and you'd be like telling each other spooky stories and stuff. So it was fun.
Yeah, the lock-in was real.
Lock-in was real.
Based on a real event, which was very central to our season finale. But yeah, the location, like that, the school itself, which no longer actually exists. I mean, the building is still there, but like the school is no longer. It's a very old, much like what Sam describes in the podcast. It's like a what you'd imagine of like a private school. But I will say we probably went to like the most lax Catholic school in the history. I think we actually got kicked out of like
being Catholic school. The diocese like our junior year.
Yeah,
for not being Catholic enough. So
so it wasn't bad in terms of the nuns or whatever. I just joke about. I mean, it was actually a very lovely time. I just joke about hating it.
It's moments though.
Now, did Ginger and Emma, did you attend Catholic school as well? Was that something you could draw upon or no?
Well, I didn't go to Catholic school, but I did go to an all-girls school. So a lot of the things that we read about in the podcast are so familiar to me. Also, my school is hella old. So a lot of the ghost stories, again, I can literally picture it happening in my school. So that's why I think that if you've had any experience of anything like this, like you can relate to it so much. And I mean, I certainly did. Like, the creepy corridors and the portraits and the leather couches. Like that could have been in my school, So yeah, it was really cool. Like seeing how they all fit together like a puzzle piece.
I went to public high school in New Mexico. That was a large public high school. So I learned to fight and run serpentine. Like it was a totally different set of scary things that we maneuvered there. But you get pretty street smart.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's helpful.
Yeah.
I like a street smart sister Mary Colette. That's kind of cool.
Mhm.
Why
Now that I
not?
know that about you, I wonder what she'll be like in season 2.
Yeah, that's what happens. You start to get written in.
Yeah, well, Katrina wasn't British, but she is now and will forever be. I'm like,
No,
this-
I was feeling it with Florence at the end of the season. I was like, oh, Sam, you're giving it to me now.
we just know each other too well.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kevin's mentioning his grandma went to Catholic school, and her school was not so permissive. She was left-handed, so they used to tie her hand behind her back.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That happened with my dad in public school too. Actually, that was just the era.
Mhm.
He's like, I was left-handed. Now I'm right-handed, but you can't read his handwriting anyway. They should just let it be.
Yeah, that's strange. They want you to write with you. Okay, well, I know that wouldn't go very far today. That's for sure. Now, now, as far as the stigmata goes, we were talking about the stigmata before you guys got here. So why the stigmata? It's a very interesting and very cool concept, but why the stigmata?
Why? I think initially I was trying to come up with something that would be unnerving enough that it had to be like kept away from the world. Like it's sacred, but it's secret. Like to have to be able to experience, like to have this experience of extreme holiness, but in a way that can't really be shown to the rest of the world because of how, at least in my brain, they're experiencing like a pretty severe version of it where it's like can't really be covered up until thankfully the pandemic, and they can wear masks and gauze and whatever all the time, and it doesn't make a difference. But anywhere kind of in the outside world would be seen as like, oh my God, we have to get these women to hospitals. You know?
Yeah, because I mean, the very first scene walked in, and she comes in and she's bleeding from where the crown of thorns was, and it was just like, wow, it's just so, it was riveting because it's like I'm sitting there in my mind's eye and I'm seeing this poor girl walk in, and she's suffering from the stigmata, and she's bleeding from her head. I was just it was an eerie vision to see that, to sit there and imagine that, and the girls are in high school, so they're really young, and then they've been suffering this for quite a while. It sounds like. Had Emma and Ginger, had you known what a stigmata was before you were cast, or did you have to read about it afterwards?
No, I knew about it. Although I didn't go to a Catholic school, I was brought up in the church, so I was aware of it.
Yeah, most of my friends growing up in New Mexico are Catholic. I'd heard about it, but I think you hear, scary, super scary stories, and so it was. Yeah, to me, it was already sort of a scary thing, and it seemed like a spooky thing. But I guess there's so many different kinds. I guess there are different varieties of what people consider a stigmata. Someone who knows more about that could speak to that better than I could, but I've heard a lot of different stories about it.
Yeah, I mean, some are. There's actually a movie I talk about a lot. Some of the folks in the chat will know about it. And it was also it was about a Catholic laundromat, a Magdalene laundromat, and the movie's called The Devil's Doorway. And in it, they had they featured like some of the Virgin Mary. She was bleeding from her eyes. The statue was bleeding from her eyes, and the place was haunted. A little bit different from yours, but it was still haunted. So I was wondering if you had done any research into the stigmata after you got cast, and what did you think of the condition? Playing a young girl with that condition. I mean, how did you prepare for the role?
Sorry, I'm laughing nervously for one reason. So the whole stigmata and bleeding is a holy thing that kind of spoke to me. I'm actually a hemophiliac, so I have a severe bleeding disorder. So I literally know what it's like to walk into somewhere and, you know, you're just bleeding everywhere and no one can stop it. So yeah, it was pretty personal for me, actually.
No idea, Emma. That's wow.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it doesn't affect me on, you know, it's just there. It's who I am. So, but yeah, that's why, for one thing, all these scenes, when I read them, I'm like, you know what? I kind of know what they're going through. So, yeah.
Wow. Incredible.
Holy cow.
The things you learn, right?
Yeah.
The more you know.
I can't believe we didn't know that. See, this is why we all should have Zoomed before we started making this show.
Well, now that we have, we can
Yeah.
try it again.
Samantha's already got pen and paper over there. I already know that. She's already started making notes for the second season.
I did, yeah. I have started, which is fun.
Yeah, I watched that. I watched you and Laura. I watched you're talking about the end of the season 2 ending. You two guys are really cute together.
Oh, thank you.
I was really enjoying watching that. I still can't. So, like, when you're doing your parts, what time did you do your parts? I mean, was there a certain time frame or your mindset? I mean, like let's say Laura sent you the notes, the emails, you know, about you know, and like, did you guys have like a 3-week window in order to record your part and send it back, or was it that big of a gap, or how'd that work out?
We would get this. I'll answer. We would get the script to have plenty of time, and you could kind of, you know, take the time to read through it and then make notes and figure out, you know, what you wanted. I always felt like there was plenty of time. I guess a couple weeks usually. Does that sound about right? I would typically do mine. I have a voiceover studio that I began to have one just in my house through COVID, like every actor in America. Bought a mic and set it up and soundproof it. And I have kiddos, so when my kids would go to bed, I would find that would be a good time to go in there and do it because everyone's quiet. And but I kind of felt like my voice is kind of scratchy anyway. But by the end of the day, I just started learning to play guitar and singing, and I'm like, my voice is probably good and scratchy, and then clear when it needs to be. It would just kind of like I'd work on the vocals of that, and then I would go record. So that seemed to work the best for me late at night, and it was kind of, you know, night. Spooky. That didn't hurt. So that's usually what I did.
How about you, Emma?
So I have a really professional studio at home. It's my wardrobe. And so usually we get the script and I read through it a couple of times to make sure I understand what's going on, who's talking to who, where are the storylines going. And then I'll go and sit in my wardrobe for a couple of hours and record them. But usually when we get the script, by the time I've read it a couple of times, it's like an hour after I've got it because I'm such a nerd. I absolutely love it. So yeah, I try and get it done as soon as possible.
Emma was the first where we kind of had her do an episode of the monologue early on. And I was like, oh, I hope she's cool with it. Like, I hope it's not too much stuff, you know, for her to do. And I think it was like your birthday, Emma. Like you like sent it to me in like maybe 24 hours and it was like perfectly done. I was going to ask you, do you edit before you send?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, because they're very clean, which is great. I mean, you don't have to.
I usually take out things such as when I'm talking to myself, like going, oh, come on, or if I'm coughing or whatever. I usually get rid of it. But I did leave in one Easter egg for you last time when we had drunk Katrina. I just left that in because I thought it was hilarious.
I was cracking up. That was great. Yeah. It's funny. I actually end up recording my lines at night as well. And I usually do them after because I do have the one benefit of having everybody else's audio before I record. So I usually wait until I get y'all's back and then I do mine. But yeah, I have found at night, it's nice to have it be spooky. It's usually quieter on the street and stuff too. So lots of night recording is good.
When do you write the story, Samantha? Do you write during the day or
Yeah, I'm a daytime writer. So if it doesn't get done before 5, like I try and treat my writing like a 9 to 5 job in some regards, just to try and separate out time for like my husband and dogs and stuff like that, so that everyone feels well loved and attended to, including myself in my writing. But each episode takes me about a week to write from end to end, with lots of stopping to like stare out the window or lots of like random reading of different things that have inspired me or listening to other podcasts. So like when I say a week, like probably 6-7 hours of writing total, maybe 8, and then when I go back and do revisions. But a lot of it's also like listening to Ghosts in the Burbs or the Antique Shop or something like that to try and get into like a spooky place before I write, and also to get into a podcast place. Sorry, I have throat lozenge in, so sorry if you like seeing something rattling around. I've had a little bit of a dry.
Now you mentioned about how you casted Ginger right off the bat, for her voice, for Sister Mary Colette. How did the other actresses get cast in their roles? What were you looking for when you cast them in their roles? Lexington and Bianca.
We honestly, I think at a certain point we're looking for like variation in voice types, because we had a lot of great people. I mean, we probably could have thrown a dart at some of these auditions and just been like, had a great cast. So it was a little bit of trying to figure out like just who was the right tone. Sam listens to those. Huh?
Like balance. You want to have like an even cast, like that type of thing too. I think people that like complement each other well.
Yeah, and you don't want two people talking next to each other that sound a lot alike, which we have learned that Lexington and I.
You and Lexington do sound a little alike.
Sometimes, yeah, it's weird. I started noticing it in the last, because we hadn't interacted that much until the finale. So, yeah.
Is that hard to read your roles by yourself? I mean, did you find it hard, or to just do the role? Because I know in a lot of animation, and that's another question. Were any of you animation fans or anime fans? Did you watch cartoons when you grew up, or any animation?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched animation endlessly. I had very little parental supervision, so I pretty much watched animation like 24 hours a day if I could. Really, like that was my jam.
I watched a lot of it too. I watched a lot of the DC cartoons, Superman, Batman, and whatnot. And I'm always fascinated because there's a voiceover actor named Andrea Romano, who's the best. She's just the best. She retired sadly, but she's amazing. And one of the things I noticed that she did was she always got her cast together, voiceover cast. And they would come in there and they'd be side by side and they'd be acting while they saw each other, not necessarily, sometimes they interact with each other, but they would throw themselves into the role full force. Did you guys do that too? Did you, like, there's emphasis on certain emotions or scenes of action? Did you go out there and do that? Like if you were acting in front of a camera?
Laura can answer that.
Why are you making fun of me? No, I what?
This is too easy.
No, I did. For the last, I don't want to spoil the finale, but the finale, I was like a wreck when I was recording those lines. It was definitely like very emotional. But in terms of like if it's hard or not, like not having the other person, in some ways it's easier, I think, because you just have so much control over what you're doing and you don't really have to worry about a camera on you or anything else. So I find it easier than acting for camera in many ways. I think the editing is the hard part for me, but because we were happy like with everybody in the cast and stuff, it hasn't been hard at all in terms of getting it to work out. I don't know how y'all feel. Do you feel like it's easier or harder for you?
I think it depends on what the line is for me. If it's like a hefty chunk of text, then I often find it easier to get into a flow with it. The lines I find the hardest are the reaction lines, like the what or
Yeah.
Like just the really short sentences that are just reactions. So yeah, I mean, often we'll do 2, 3, 4 takes of it, you know, the gasps, the what, the oh my god, just to try and get the right, because you don't know quite how the other actor is going to say those lines. So you have to try and think of how, every which way that I can say this to make it work. So that's the only hard part, I would say.
I'd say for me, it's mostly, it seems easier because I just, a lot of times when you're working with another actor, you're, allowing for their process at the same time you're doing yours. And that can, sometimes they don't match up and you're trying to, sync up somehow with the way they do things. And then it takes a little bit to do that. When it's just you, you're like, this is my domain. It's all my world. And I just, can do what I want. And then you kind of have to reel it in and figure out, that's why it was fun to offer different takes, because you could really say, okay, here's what I should do. Here's what I'm going to try to do. And then here's what I would really like to do. And then you just get to try different takes with different parts to tell the story,
What I like to do now, because I wanted to so the chat can see this, but I'm going to let Ginger and then Laura, then Emma. I want you to tell us about your character, who you play, and tell us a little bit about their background.
Well, for me, I think I decided my background in Sister Mary Colette is that she sees a lot of herself in Florence, because she probably was very similar to her when she was little and went through a lot of the similar things, and probably those experiences hardened her. And so that might be what drives her to try to strengthen these girls and get them in a better place so that they don't. I think she was softer when she was younger, and life hardened her. And so maybe now she's trying to harden these girls so that they'll be able to handle the life ahead of them and the stigmata that they carry.
Laura?
Yeah, I play Florence. I think she, I see a lot of myself in her, of course, since, someone who's known me for 22 years is writing the character for me. But I do see a huge difference in her. For me, like, there's a big jump in who she is as in the flashbacks to in the present day. And I think she's got, a lot of abandonment issues, and she's definitely hardened a lot as an adult versus she's just much more innocent as a young girl. But yeah, I think she has a little bit of a penchant for the dramatic. And yeah, I think that's all I'll say.
Okay, so I play Katrina. Now, Katrina, I find her really interesting because I see that she kind of has two sides to her personality. She has this background that her family is incredibly wealthy. I think, kind of really old money. They've helped furnish and build parts of the school. So I think she feels very entitled that she should be there because she's special. But I think, although she feels this kind of specialness and, the holiness and everything, I think she's actually really insecure because of the way that she treats Florence and just kind of picks on her a little bit. I just see insecurities. And I think that's maybe because although she's had money and everything she could ever want, I think all she's really ever wanted is just her family to be there. And I think they're all so spread out all over the place, her brothers, her family, that I just think that she's fighting really hard not to be lonely, but she can't help pushing people away. So, but she's happy. She's good. But that's just my little deep dive into who Katrina is.
And I'm going to let, since the other two actresses aren't here, but I'll let Samantha explain about Inez and Marjory. Marjory,
yeah.
Marjory.
Since you created the two characters, you know them intimately well. So I'll let you tell us a little bit about them.
I think Marjory is kind of our port in a storm. Like I don't know. She's kind of always making the right decisions, even when she doesn't necessarily always want to, but she's the only one that has like, I think, really strong family connections. She's got, you know, people that love her outside of the school, like in a very concrete way, like in a parenting way. Like there's moments where we're hearing about how she got her stigmata, and it was like her parents were making dinner, or it's like she had like the most normal upbringing of any of the girls in terms of just like normal suburban 2.5 kids and whatever American household type of thing. But I also think whenever I get to explore Marjory, I always want to know more, because I also think she puts up like a still waters run deep type of character. Like, I think she wants more. I think she feels more deeply than she puts on, but she feels like she has to be strong for everybody else. And she draws that strength from coming from like a more stable background. And then I like, Inez, I have given no thought to her background other than really what's been revealed in the last episodes, partially because she is brand new. She's the only character that was invented for, like, all the other characters are in the original screenplay, but Inez was written for the show as a way to shake things up, bring them all back together, and kind of the original screenplay was Sister Mary, Colette, Florence, Marjory, and Katrina all in the school at the present time. So we're seeing it happen as the flashbacks unfold. But because of the way that podcasts are, you couldn't really just jump into that. You had to go and create a narrative background and an arc for these characters. And why today? Why are we sitting with these characters right now? I suppose just letting them live their life. And Inez is the why. She's kind of
the inciting incident.
She's the lighting the match at the end of the dynamite. And I think that's sort of her personality too. I think she likes to come in and blow things up and try and figure it out from there. Like, I don't ever really feel like, like those people that are like, never really have a game plan, but are always trying stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think Inez is that person. It's just, she's impulsive. She's, she means well, but she just can't she can't get control of her own life. And I think we find out why in the season finale. It's a really strong motivation for that, but it's like if she had just started with that, none of this other stuff would happen. But she felt like she had to go and blow everything up, like somewhat literally, before she could get her answer, because she didn't feel like anyone would trust her enough to just go with it. So she's got, I'm interested in, I'll have to think about that a little bit more for season 2 and stuff. How we get to where we're going, because that's a mystery to me at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, it's. I agree. I mean, listening to the second half, the season finale. I mean, you have them going interdimensional.
Yeah. Me too. That was a surprise to me as a writer.
Now, obviously, I'm not going to do this, but but I'll have to ask, because because when I heard that interdimensional, I'm going like, all right, that's almost like some Marvels type stuff, the going, multiverses, so to speak, and a quantum leap over what a normal, like a story, like a stigma, like the story would be. You think it would be grounded, but I like the last minute science fiction, so to speak. I mean, if that's where it's going, I did like that tremendously. It opened up a whole wide world. You could go anywhere and do anything. I thought that really is going to help you, because now,
too, it does sometimes feel like just enough rope to hang myself with. Sometimes where I'm like, wow, we could now do anything, and I'm like staring at the screen. I'm like, okay.
Quick story. So Sam called me like maybe a month before we recorded the finale, and she was like, I'm sorry, I just have to talk this out to you and make sure that I'm not insane. And so we had a whole conversation where we went through the logic of everything that was happening in the finale. But I was so happy, because I think I love that when I watch television. I'm a big television fan, and I love when a finale kind of like opens up a bunch of different options for what direction the next season could go in. So to me, it felt very much like the closest we've had to like a true TV kind of episode. Even the I won't spoil the ending, but there's a great little reveal at the end that just felt like, you know, a perfect little cliffhanger to go out on. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and you know, you definitely can sense that, you know, throughout the whole thing, you always sense that there was going to be more. You know, it's always leading up to it. You never really felt like, okay, they're going to wrap this up. You know, is this going to be clean and simple just in case? But I really applaud your choice not to take that way out, but to do leave a cliffhanger. One thing that really threw me off a little bit were the size of the episodes. Like some episodes were longer than others. Some episodes were really, really short. Going forward, are you going to have a uniform time, like, you know, like a 20-minute runtime or a 30-minute runtime, or is it just, you know, as the writing goes?
Some of it's strategic. So, like the third to last episode of the podcast before the 2-part season finale was because there was no physical way for me to write as fast as I wanted to. Those 2 episodes, those ones were a big haul because I think they wound up being about 40 pages a piece. So I knew we had to get content out to keep people engaged. And I was like, I'm just going to write a really quick and dirty, like 6-7 minute episode just to keep people clicking. And I think we got some like interesting comments where people were like, this is very short.
People were mad.
They were super mad.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily mad, but I was curious. I was like, wow, that's really short. It's almost like a flash. It's like a clip episode almost. You know, it's like, where's the story?
I think in some ways next season, what I'm hoping for is a little bit more continuity. I'm going to try. So this season, I wrote episodes in 3-episode batches. And then Laura would send them out to the actors to record. And while they were recording and she was editing, I was writing the next 3 episodes. My goal, my summer project, since I'm full-time writing now, is to get the whole season written ahead of time, so that I can have like continuity of length a little bit more, and then also like a little bit more opportunity to make sure that any threads that seem weird or like dropped are a little more tied together in the overall thing. Because I did notice from the first half of the season to the second, I was like, the tone shifted like in a good way, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But part of it was just getting to know the characters. And I'm like, but if I wrote it all at once, I might be able to create that kind of uniformity, or not uniformity, but like consistency as a writer that I think will be helpful for audiences and the actors too, which is good.
Yeah,
Now,
I think generally speaking, the episodes are about like 15 minutes. It's sort of like a general episode, but then we have the Christmas and both the 2-part, so Christmas and then the finale were more like the length of like a traditional hour-long TV episode. That was sort of the general consensus.
Yeah, I think the Christmas episodes were my absolute favorites.
They're mine too.
I love them so much.
They're so fun.
Now, will you be bringing new characters in for the second season? I mean, or will the original 4 girls will they, you know, meet new stigmatas, or do you have any plans for any other supernatural type incidents to happen?
I'm not sure about supernatural stuff yet, although it's me, so probably. But there's definitely going to be new characters in the next season, which I'm really excited about, and new locations. So I'm excited to see where we land. I have a pretty good idea what the first couple episode arcs are going to look like, but definitely plan to meet some new folks. Laura, I guess maybe I should get you those breakdowns sooner rather than later. I guess whenever, you know, let's do it a week before we record. Sort of normal. But yeah, I'm excited to get some new voices in too and start like thinking about like there was a big reveal at the end of the last season about like different Yeah, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to ruin it, but different types of people they might meet along the way. So I'm excited to get that party started. But
Someone
yeah,
what kind of reactions have you all received? Ginger and Emma, have you received any mail directly addressing you and your character?
I wouldn't say I've received mail or anything like that. My favorite thing has been when you're on Spotify and I'm listening to it, because obviously that's the first time we get to hear everyone. So I listen to it. I love looking at the polls and the little question and answer and the what do you think is happening. I love those so much because that just shows that people are really engaged with it and they're wanting to know more and they're floating our own theories about what's going on. And I think that's just the coolest thing. Like, I love it.
It is. There's a lot of fan theories, which is kind of fun.
It's crazy. That shocked me as well. I was like, oh, wait, I'm pulling up a poll right now. So this is the who do you think is the most honest about their experiences at St. Mary's poll, which I think is very interesting. Right now it's Inez 8%, Marjory 17, Florence 58, and Katrina 17. But Sam and I both said Marjory.
I was surprised that everyone Florence was there, but Florence's experience I think is very colored by her personal experience with the school. Yeah. So I don't know that she's our most reliable narrator, but I think it's interesting that people think she is.
Well, because she's spoken the most. I think that's why.
Yeah, probably. Oh, and someone asked in the chat where you can find the podcast. So we're on anywhere basically that podcasts are found. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and just search for St. Mary's School for Children with the Stigmata.
That's a catchy title. It really is. It's such a cool title.
Thank you. So
I had to spell it out every time I used it for my promo. I was spelling it out because I liked it, and I liked how you wrote it too. Actually, I used all capital letters for it, but in your poster, you had it in all lowercase, and I thought that was actually a little bit more charming.
Do we lose Sam?
Give her, yeah, that happens. So yeah, I'm just curious now. Now that you've experienced this, now the real question is, now that you actually met each other face to face, is there something will that be something you'll do something in the future? Like if you maybe do a record, do you think it would help you if you did it like a reading like this, or do you rather prefer it to be dark and basically by yourself?
Real quick, Sam said she's back. She just needs to be let in. Yeah, I think it would be tough because we are like international and in different places. I think it would actually make it harder to try and record at the same time. But Sam and I have talked about maybe doing like a live reading at some point if the cast is up for it, like maybe the Christmas episode next year at Christmas time.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, it would be really cool. But
Christmas party.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. I'd like to see you guys do that. That would be, because I really do. I really enjoy watching it, and because the actors that do voiceovers, people don't understand. They just think they just sit there and they just read. That's not true. They're acting. They go through physical transformations. They get into it. You can see the whole persona. I mean, voiceover acting is it's a cool animal to watch. It really is. It's really interesting.
You do feel a little crazy when you're doing it sometimes, though, because I was going to say, I bet they both get this, but like even Lexington and I were emailing back and forth about the scene. There's a scene where they're fighting. She and Florence are fighting over like a car, and we were both talking about like the challenge of yelling into your microphone, because you have to be very careful. You don't want like the feedback and stuff. So I was like, I record in this room that I'm in now. I was like back in that corner, like screaming, and you're yelling all this stuff, and I was saying like, oh my gosh, my neighbors must think I'm insane. I'm like, no, don't do it. Stop. Like hacked by a real person. Yeah.
That would be actually a lot of fun. Now, have you heard anything, Samantha? Have you heard anything from the church? Has the church, any of the churches, because I know they listen to a lot of podcasts or whatnot. Has anybody giving you any negative feedback of where you're portraying it?
God, I wish. No, no one, no one bugs me. I think everyone's like, we're small potatoes right now. Although we do have, what are we up to? Like,
We hit 20,000 listens today.
What?
yeah,
Wow.
we're like, we're pretty cool, you guys. But no, like, no one has given me any crap, which is good because I'd just be like, there's so much ammunition for me to fire back with. So I'm just kind of like, this isn't what you need to be worrying about right now.
I'll say though that Sam has a lot of respect for the church, generally speaking. So yeah.
He's a religious studies major. I actually got accepted into divinity school last year because I thought I was going to be a priest. So I spend a lot of time thinking a little bit about how we talk about sacraments and how we talk about holiness and things like that. And so if they did, I think, I would have a thoughtful conversation with somebody about it if I really felt like engaging, because I do think it's kind of interesting to talk to people about it. But nah, no negative feedback yet.
Good. 20,000. That's very respectable considering it's a relatively new format. I mean, there's not like I said, I've heard of podcasts, and I know podcasts are just everybody's doing a podcast. Everybody. I mean, it's like, but the thing is though, is that a lot of them never last either. They might do 1 or 2 seasons and they drop off the planet. So I think for you, as long as you folks want to continue to do this, I think it's wide open for you.
Yeah, I think we'll do it as long as it's fun and we have ideas. And as a writer, a big thing for me too is when it comes to a natural conclusion, we'll make sure it's off with a bang and not like fading into nothing. I think we would really want to think about how we structure the next couple seasons. I'm hoping, a couple more at least, because it's really fun. Yeah. This is really, for me anyway, I hope it's as fun for the actors as it has been for me, but
oh hell yeah.
It is fun, and it's unique. Like there isn't anything really like it. And I think that, your ideas, and it seems like the sky's the limit. You really could take this in a lot of different directions, and it's a really exciting thing to be a part of.
Oh, thank you. That's that's very kind of you to say.
Thank you.
What are some of the biggest difference for like I guess it's sort of like self-taping for the audition, right? Mm-hmm. But what are some of the biggest difference between doing radio, voiceover acting, and since you guys are both experienced on-camera actors, what are some of the biggest differences, in the way you do the material and prepare it?
For me, I have a lot of facial expressions, and that is not good for film. So I have to temper those, bring it inside. And so it's really fun to be able to just be out there, not to have to think about that. So you really get to focus completely on your performance and voice. And like Laura, like I'm back here, down here, up here in my, this is not my recording studio, but it gives you more freedom, I would say. And that's kind of fun because you really get to focus on that one aspect of your performance and you're only thinking about your vocal delivery. And there's so many more things you can do when you're not thinking about the physicality of, film and television or commercial acting, because it's just no one can see you. So you can make the weird faces that you would never make in a self-tape audition.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same thing as well. Literally, I can be there just like, no, Marjory, you can't, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I never do that on film. I never do it on camera, but I just love it.
Yeah.
And has this rekindled a little bit for you, Laura, about doing acting, or are you just strictly going to stay right where you're at?
I think I'm definitely enjoying it. I don't know that I would go back out and audition for other people's things again, but I'm doing a lot of writing myself and editing this, and yeah, I kind of like having multiple things that I'm doing. When I was acting seriously in my mind, I was pretty single-minded about it. So I think it's better for me to just be a little bit more of a Renaissance woman.
It
So we'll
really
see.
pays off in her writing too. Laura's a really excellent writer as well. So.
Are you planning to do some writing for next season? You gonna maybe you and Samantha will collaborate on a couple of episodes?
I'm done. Laura, you're right. Season 2. I'll do the edit.
You do season 2. Yeah, I feel like this one is Sam's baby. I mean, if she wanted me to, I would totally. But yeah, it's.
I've thought about it maybe at some point, like bringing in another writer just to get like a different. Like if I get stuck on something, it'd be like I would totally tap someone else in and be like.
I think a lot of writers would get a hold of this and just be like, wow, you know. And at the same time, you're sitting there wondering, the same time going like, you're saying, wow, but why aren't you doing something like this too? Because we need more shows like this out there. I mean, this is exciting for, you know, especially for those old dudes like myself. I mean, this is such a throwback. And Emma mentioned the radio show, The Archers. I never heard of that show, and I didn't know it was still going on after all these years. How cool is that? I wish we had something like that here. We don't.
It's like a I can't remember whether it's weekly or it might be like a nightly show. It's like a radio drama, but it's like a soap opera kind of a thing. Yeah, it's really cool.
Interesting. Yeah, Sam has a few other podcast ideas. I have one possibly brewing. I think we're kind of into the medium in terms of
medium's great
other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you guys have a? Where do you guys if, you know, you don't have to share everything, but where do you guys have in mind?
Sam, do you have a log line for the?
Oh gosh, yeah, I have. I have a podcast idea that I'm working on called "Cult of Claudia," which is kind of the working title, about a 6th grade girl who falls in love with her school's like DARE officer in the 80s. So DARE is like drug abuse resistance education. She falls and to get like, but she's in too good of a school for him to ever be around. So she starts like figuring out a way to start like a drug ring to continue to get his attention. Which is it's funnier maybe than it sounds, but it's also like goes off the rails really fast. But that would probably be like a 1 season type of thing. And then I started writing like a short story about like a little girl and her grandmother who find like a dragon to raise. So something a little sweeter. So like I think it kind of runs the gamut for me, but obviously I like working with other women artists is like a big thing for me. I like sharing the stories of women and girls because I think sometimes they get pushed aside for various reasons, and I'm interested in continuing to tell them. So
this is your second project now where it pretty much is just 100% women, other than the 2 or 3 guys that helped you with the new girl but this is all women powered.
This is, it's another project that's 100% women.
It's interesting you say that because since starting this project, the all women part of it really was a draw for me, and it's been really fun for me. And I finally finished my screenplay, which is an action adventure film, just because I love reading your scripts, and I thought, you know, I should be working on my own, and I finally finished it. And I don't think a lot of women write action adventure, you know, like shooting, car chases, all the things. And so, I appreciate the opportunity because I thought, well, I think that there is a market for that now. A woman can write action adventure. And so thank you for the inspiration of having an all-women cast to inspire me to finish my work on that screenplay.
Oh, I love hearing that. Yay!
That's all we want.
Like, holy crap.
Women can write. They can write horror. They can direct horror. They can do, you know, they can write a scary story just as well as any man can. And if you have any doubts about that, come talk to me. I'll tell you some women directors that have creeped me out really, really well. With Ashlyn Clark being the first one. She's the one that wrote. The Devil's Doorway, and she also did another short called Childers that will leave you. Both those movies will be in your head. So and as far as women action directors, there's a lot of them out there. There's some that can bring the noise, but you're right that we always need more. You know, it's always good to hear that side of the story. You know, it's like why can't a woman direct I mean, she sure as hell can act in it. So why can't she write it, and why can't she direct it? So, What's next for you, Emma and Ginger? What's next for you as far as acting wise?
Ooh, what's next? That's the great thing about this profession. You kind of never know what's coming. But with the stuff I can control, so I just my first short film that I've directed has just finished the festival circuit. So that was been a really exciting time. I like writing thrillers and horrors, so yeah, I appreciate what you said about.
It finished this festival run.
Yeah, we've picked up quite a few nominations and a fair few awards as well. It's a little thriller about a suburban housewife who finally snaps when her husband, well, he takes advantage of her in one too many ways, and she just.
She shows them what a stigmata really can be on a man.
Oh yeah.
What's the name of the film?
It's called Suburbia.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll hopefully be releasing in the next couple of months or so. So yeah, that'd be really cool.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, since you finished your festival run, you're able to do this now. But if you'd like to send it to a couple of us, we'll be happy to look at it and review it for you.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing! Thank you. Yes, yeah, definitely.
I love short films, so yeah, I'll be more than happy to do that. And there's a couple of film. My friend Kevin here, we'll give it to him. He's the best. He's the best reviewer on the tube. He's amazing. We'll give it to him. We'll give it to our friend Katie. Myself. Yeah, we'll be happy to look at it. That'd be fun.
Thank you. That's amazing.
I just volunteered you, Kevin and Katie. They don't know that yet. I would give it to Interweb Kaiju, but unless you have a Godzilla in it, that's
Unfortunately not, no. But yeah, that's the stuff I can control at the moment. Obviously being an actor just means that you're constantly auditioning, and then the right project comes and finds you. So at the moment it's just continuing to work hard and training, grafting, networking, and doing cool stuff. So.
You plan on going back to the UK to act, or are you pretty happy where you're at now?
No, the next plan is I'm hitting stateside. So yeah.
Where?
Okay. Not sure yet. It'll probably be in the next couple of years or so, but I'm thinking kind of Pacific Northwest, that kind of thing. So yeah, not quite sure yet exactly where, but that's the plan.
I heard New Mexico's pretty busy.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me know.
Will do.
How about you, Ginger? What do you have coming up next?
Sometimes when you do projects, it can take a while for them to come out. So it's kind of exciting. I have a few things, a couple of short films that are one I did in the Pacific Northwest where I am playing an executive. It's a villain, actually, not very nice. And then another short film about teaching in the profession. That's a soon to be released, and I'm an encouraging teacher. And I really was excited to work as an outlaw, Laura Bullion, one of the only females in the an outlaw gang called the Wild Bunch. It's a remake sort of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and I shoot people, rob trains, I get shot. It's very exciting. We shot it in Santa Fe a few months ago. Not that Western. We were 6 miles from that Western where there was an accident, but we ended up finishing that, and I think they're completing editing and completing the final touches on that. And Fox owns it, so I don't know what they're going to do with it, but it'll be exciting to see when that comes out. That was a very fun role to play.
That would be fun. That would be fun to keep an eye out. What I'll do is I'll put everybody's link in the description box and let people know what you're doing. And of course, we'll follow each other on Instagram. Just let me know and send me Emma. You can send me your short, and then if you guys have anything you want to keep me abreast of, just let me know. I want to open up real quick. Does anybody have any questions for our guests before we let them go? Because it's way past
Croatia time.
Yeah, it's way past.
Oh my gosh, time. Emma! Oh my. It's fine. It's only 3:30 in the morning. It's fine.
Yeah, it's almost breakfast time.
Yeah, exactly. Stay up.
Just power through. So
I want to thank you, ladies, for spending the Friday with me. I had a lot of fun. This has been amazing. I was hoping to do this and be able to do it fair. And yeah, thank you so much. And let's see. Rachel is mentioning no questions. Best of luck with the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Grateful.
All right.
Thank you, and grateful to you, Laura, Sam. Nice to meet you,
Grateful
Emma.
Guys as well.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you,
Thank
Sam.
you.
Thank you, Patrick. And nice to meet you, Ginger.
Nice to meet you too.
Bringing the stigmata, bringing people together.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies, so much. I'll let you guys go, and thank you so much for your time, and we will stay in touch.
Thanks so much for
Thanks
having us.
everybody for
Have a
watching.
great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys in the chat. You guys rocked it so much. I'm gonna let them all go. Wow, thank you so much. All right, so real quick before I go, it is 9:20. If you guys want to go at 10:30 over to Real Lady Electrician, they're having a slumber sleepy party at 10:30. Thank you guys all for coming out. I really do appreciate it. I don't tell your friends about the show. Tell them about the replay. I really appreciate it. I'll put all the information down about the ladies and the St. Mary's School for the Children of the Stigmata. I'll put that all down in the description box. And I'll also put down the first interview that I did with Laura and Samantha. All right, then we will see you Sunday. We'll see you Sunday over on my channel as me and Sean Blue Digital are tackling the Friday the 13th remake. I hope we survive. And that'll be at 9 o'clock. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you soon. Peace.